did not go out like no punk.
No.
Okay, you were fighting right into the last second.
Yeah.
Tell me about what it was like those last moments.
Well, I knew I was a target, and the only way I could see myself getting through this for at least a week was just to be a bigger target so that people could use me as a shield and save their own game so that they didn't screw up what they were doing. So I was like, you know what, let's paint this bigger, let's cause some chaos, and maybe people will feel comfortable that the heat is not on them or their alliance.
But this is what I'm struggling to understand. It made perfect sense. Like, all of this was extremely logical. So why didn't it work?
I got the alliance wrong.
Okay. So speaking of the alliance, let's talk about these Sunsetters. I think Beth spilled a little tea on that one.
Beth spilled some tea.
Yeah, okay. So tell me about hearing about that alliance that you were so close to getting almost perfect.
Well, as you my final pitch, which impressed most of the members of that alliance. So I obviously knew something was working there. I wasn't saying it out loud to anybody. I was just kind of saying, I think they're awesome. I think they're nice. But I had a hunch. It's the Beth one that really threw me for a loop, because I thought she was working with Austin and then was playing Jed and Ty and just everybody. But she was
listen, all of these things can be true. All three of these things can be true.
That is
right?
very true. But I was very suspicious of Beth.
How do you think the Sunsetters will do if they're, right now, pretty under the radar?
No one was expecting them at all. And even though they took me out, those were most of my favorite people in the house. So I hope they do really, really well. I'm rooting for LaToya to win, even if she got me out.
Well, speaking of big targets, because LaToya is a big target.
Yeah.
Two big, strong guys, Jesse Chashawn, big target.
Yeah.
Then you got this threefer with, Beth and Brayden and Austin.
Yeah.
And then you got Kyle and Rohan together. Who are the biggest targets, and why is nobody taking a shot?
Everyone's scared right now. No one is talking at all. At least that I see. No one was talking to me because, but I was intentionally doing that as well. Just being I kind of screwed up my alliance in the first, on day 3. And then I was just you know what, I'm going to run through this alone and hopefully people can use me as they see fit. And I think you guys saw me, realize that, I'm just going to be a pawn for everybody for a while. And to not seem threatening, I actively pulled myself out of a lot of stuff, sat out of conversations. I sat in a room the entire day before eviction, pretending to be sad so that, I wouldn't hear anything. And also so Rohan wouldn't campaign against me. I was actively trying to just be this guy with a target on his back. And I was operating alone.
What a strategy. It worked. I bought it, okay? So you weren't that sad.
Yeah.
You're really tough.
Yeah.
Now, Tara was I don't think you're the villain. Or is that what she said?
Yeah.
Something about being a villain. Do you think you were a villain?
I secretly wanted to be a little bit of a villain just for fun. I don't think I was the villain. I definitely think I'm going to watch this back and realize I was not the villain at all. I think I was maybe too much of a softie and a little too honest.
Well, you know that iconic line of Gary's, oh, honey, you don't know who the real villain is until you watch the show.
I'm excited to see who the real villain is. I know someone pulled a few things over me.
Well, I want to talk about perception in the house versus reality. You think a thing when you're in the house, this is who the fans must love. This is who the fans must not love. I'm going to be on this person, not this person. How different is that from what actually happens as a viewer when you watch?
It's so different because you don't know what's going on behind every door. And honestly, no one was talking to me at a certain point, and the conversations we were having, I was just clearly pulling information out of me. So I learned pretty fast just not to say names to anyone. because
that kind of burned you off the top. That whole Pretty Boys 2.0 thing.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that was the right thing to kind of lean into in week 1 versus now? Like, what do you think about that theory?
That was, well, so when you're talking to those guys in like the hot tub and whatnot, and everyone's saying their favorite house guest, and each one of them is saying a member of the Pretty Boys, and then they're hanging out the whole time, and like Rohan was like pretty conniving, but some of the other ones were a bit more like easy to read, and like whether or not they said it, I felt like they thought in their minds that they could be that. But who knows? I'm going to watch it back and be like, well, so wrong.
Well, you threw it all at the wall. Like, you left it all on the floor, and that's all anyone can ask for whenever you get evicted, right? Pre-jury, post-jury, you almost win. People want to see people play, and you're playing so hard, even though for a day you might have been, in a bedroom by yourself.
Yeah, honestly, like going into it, I was just like, I don't want to sit and not play the game. I don't want to not cause controversy. It probably would have gotten me further in the game not to do it, let's be real, but also, where's the fun in that? As like a player, like it's still a game, and also just like I wanted to like make sure the audience was having a good time watching, and I felt suspicious of Rohan because he was always looking into every room I was in.
Just keeping tabs. Now, one thing I know about you is that you've never lived with roommates before.
That is correct. Yeah.
Right? So in some ways, I feel like maybe that contributed to this mental toughness you had. Like, even though, at times it felt like people were like quick to run, right? Mm-hmm. So what was that overall experience like for you living with 13 roommates suddenly?
I've never had roommates. I'm an only child. Like, I've never really had to deal with other people in a living situation. And for my first time being with like a heightened level of paranoia, it was very confusing. But
you don't say. Yeah. Living in the Big Brother house, whatever.
Right? But honestly, like, I'm pretty proud of myself for like how well I dealt with like just kind of getting comfortable around people. Like, I never really thought that like I'd feel okay just like going up to a person in the house and just like hugging someone or sharing a bathroom was like my biggest fear, and I conquered that fear. So I think like moving forward in life, even though it was like a weird experience, it like helped me push myself to just being a better person and being a person that can grow and continue growing.
Wow, listen, this is some pretty iconic behavior, if you ask me.
Thank you.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you?
About me, the biggest misconception? That I'm scary and that I don't want to joke about myself. Like, Tara like tiptoed around me that she started a hashtag about me called Just Josh, and I was like, no, that's funny. Like, joke with me. That's the stuff that makes me laugh, not everybody like avoiding me. Like, just have some fun. Like, I like to have fun. I just don't like to joke around in like a group of 12 people because it's overwhelming.
Well, no, I think you're right. I think the viewers know that you absolutely can take a joke, can be part of the joke and be in on it. Very meta.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah, I love it.
But it's very interesting that they couldn't see that, and they had a very different perspective, I think, than the viewers did. Now, who is going to... Actually, no. Who do you think will win, and who do you want to win? You might have answered that already, but give it to me.
Okay, well, I want Latoya to win. I do think she's a really strong competitor, and she flew under the radar for just long enough that I think her game is really strong. She pulled something over me. And who do I think will win? I think Latoya. I want her to win, and I think she's going to win.
Okay, well, I love it. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, Josh. We really appreciate it. You were so fun to watch in there. And if you're watching on TikTok, you can find us back here on TikTok Live every week at 9 p.m. Thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you so much.